Welcome into the second edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Weekly. I'm your host, Connor Hrabchak. On today's episode, we got a ton to get into. There was a Bombers game this past week, a Sea Bears game, a handful of Goldeyes games, and even some Jets news at the start of the week. We're going to break it all down here. Before we do, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and let's start with the Blue Bombers' final preseason game at home. Yes, it's only preseason, but the Bombers did get smoked 31-10 by the Calgary Stampeders on Friday night at Princess Auto Stadium. And if you look at the stats behind me here, it was lopsided in every phase of the game. Passing, rushing yards, sacks, and turnovers all in Calgary's favor. The only touchdown that the Bombers scored was a 109-yard punt return TD by Chris Smith. The Bombers thought they had maybe solved their punt return issues, but Chris Smith actually got hurt in the game and ended up being cut by the Blue Bombers on the final day of transactions. A brutal blow for not only the team, but the running back himself, who looked to have won a job out of training camp. But regardless, the Bombers lost by 21 points, went 0-2 in the preseason, but like I said, it's just preseason. Let's move on to the regular season starting this Thursday. The Sea Bears had a bit of an off week. They only played the one game inside Canada Life Centre, but 8,500 people filed in on Saturday night as the Sea Bears took on the Ottawa BlackJacks, and they went home with the W, 93-80. And as you can see in the stats behind me, a great defensive performance from the Sea Bears. They out-rebounded the BlackJacks as well. Slightly lost the turnover battle, but contributions from a ton of players. Teddy Allen scoring 27 points, Byron Mullen putting up 19, Darius Days having 16 points and 14 rebounds, and Jared Ogunemi-Jackson dropping 20 points as well, hitting all three shots from the free throw line to hit the target score. And the Sea Bears have won their second straight game. They're 2-1 on the season. A great atmosphere inside Canada Life Centre. If you haven't been to a Sea Bears game, I highly recommend them, even if you don't enjoy basketball. It's just a fun night at the arena, and this night was no different. That brings us to the Winnipeg Goldeyes, where they played 6 games this past week, starting off with 3 games down in Fargo-Moorhead, taking on the Redhawks. They lost the first game of that series and then won the final 2. That's another series win. That's their third straight series win coming into the home series. They started a 6-game homestand. The first 3 games against Lincoln, as you can see behind me, the first game, a 9-4 loss. The second game, a shootout, an 11-7 loss. And then the bats came alive and the pitching came alive all at once in the Sunday game, a 15-2 win. The Goldeyes putting up 19 hits in this game, and they got the win. They now are going to play a 3-game home set against the Kane County Cougars starting on Monday. I'll get more into the upcoming schedule for all 3 of these teams later on in the episode, so stick around. One last note on the Winnipeg Goldeyes here. They're 10-12 on the season, and they started out on the road 3-7 in their first 10 road games. A 10-game road trip would be tough for any team to start the year. They did that. They weathered the storm a little bit. Now the bats and the pitching are starting to show up a little bit at the same time, and if they can overlap going forward here, this team could string together a lot of wins. Like I said, home games coming up. If you can, goldeyes.com/tickets. There's nothing better than a night at the ballpark. Here's your Jets news of the week, starting with Scott Arniel. He had his introductory press conference as head coach of the Winnipeg Jets on Monday. Him and Kevin Cheveldayoff did a presser. They held the jersey, Arniel 24. He was officially now the head coach of the Winnipeg Jets. And later that day, he was actually on Winnipeg Sports Talk, interviewed by Huss. If you haven't already, go check that out. It was a great interview, and I highly recommend. Number 2, during that press conference, Brad Lauer is being let go. He ran the power play last year as an assistant coach. Kevin Cheveldayoff brought that up in the presser that they were mutually parting ways, and they'll have to hire 2 assistant coaches now. Obviously, Arniel graduating to head coach, that's one vacancy, and Brad Lauer, the other vacancy. We can expect to maybe see some assistant coaches hired here in the next couple weeks as we inch towards the end of the season and the NHL draft at the end of the month. Number 3, Nikolai Ehlers popped up at number 5 on Frank Saravalli's initial trade bait board for the offseason over on dailyfaceoff.com. We've talked about this plenty. Nikolai Ehlers, 1 year left on his deal, $6 million. Will he extend in Winnipeg? Will he be traded? Well, Frank Saravalli saying that he's up there across the league as one of the players that is most likely to be traded. The rumors are going to be constant with Nikolai Ehlers until there's an extension or a trade in place. And like I said, with the draft coming up here, they might be nearing a decision. If they're going to move Ehlers, it might be for a draft pick, maybe a first-round pick to replace the one that they lost when they traded for Sean Monahan last season. There's going to be talks. There's going to be a lot of rumors going into the draft, so stay tuned to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Huss and Remus will be breaking it down following the news cycle every single day surrounding Nikolai Ehlers, but he popped up on number 5 on Frank Saravalli's trade bait board. Now, we've got a lot still to get to. I've got the 3 Stars of the Week awards that I'm going to hand out right away here. And then after that, I'm going to talk about the upcoming schedule for sports here in Winnipeg over the next week. But before we do that, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss videos like this in the future from Winnipeg Sports Talk. Let's get into the 3 Stars of the Week from the Winnipeg sports scene. My 3rd star of the week is the 3rd baseman of the Winnipeg Goldeyes, Dason Cruz. He's on an unbelievable stretch of hitting right now. He's got at least 1 hit in 14 of his last 15 games, and it's showing in his batting average. .354, that's a team best. He's got 29 hits, 13 RBIs, 4 doubles, and that's all in just 20 games played. He's one of the most consistent hitters, not only on the Goldeyes, but league-wide, as his average is consistently up there with the league's best. And in that 15-2 win that I discussed on Sunday, he had 4 hits in that game, 3 RBIs. He's powering the Goldeyes offensively, and then defensively, he's one of their best defenders as well in the hot corner there over at third base, consistently making great plays, throwing across the diamond. Dason Cruz, my 3rd star of the week on Winnipeg Sports Talk Weekly. My 2nd star of the week is Sea Bears center Byron Mullins. You can't miss this guy. He's 7 feet tall, and he had a great game on Saturday night against the Ottawa BlackJacks, posting 19 points and 8 rebounds. On the season, as you can see behind me, 10 points per game, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, field goal percentage just up above 36%, and then the 3-point percentage. That was started out really low, and it's climbing back up, especially after that game against Ottawa. It's up at 25%. And for a 7-foot center, shooting 25% from 3, that's pretty good. When you add on the rebounds, he also had a highlight reel block against Ottawa. He's been a great addition for the Sea Bears, and the first couple games here have shown his entire skill set. Byron Mullins, my 2nd star of the week on WST Weekly. My 1st star of the week is Goldeyes designated hitter Max Murphy. His batting average, I brought it up last week, it was at 185. 6 games later, it's up at 275, and he's been crushing the ball. 5 home runs, 25 RBIs, 16 runs, and that's all in just 22 games played. Against Lincoln, he hit a 3-run bomb that went 427 feet and went 107 miles an hour off the bat, the exit velocity. He has been absolutely crushing the ball lately. He's a power hitter, and that's why he's the MVP. Max Murphy, my 1st star of the week on Winnipeg Sports Talk Weekly. Now it is time to get into the upcoming schedule for sports here in the city of Winnipeg. But before we do that, drop a comment below. Do you agree with my choices for the 3 stars of the week? Maybe you think Teddy Allen, who dropped 27, 5, and 6 in the Sea Bears win, should be on that list. I wouldn't blame you, but let me know in the comments below, who do you think had a great individual performance this past week? And let's get into the upcoming schedule. And here it is, the upcoming sports schedule here in Winnipeg over the next week, starting with Thursday, June 6th. The CFL season is finally here, and where else better to kick it off than Princess Auto Stadium? The Winnipeg Blue Bombers in a Grey Cup rematch are taking on the Montreal Alouettes. This is going to be a fantastic game. Tickets are still available. It's not quite a sellout yet. I would expect it to be a sellout eventually, so if you're debating it, hop on those tickets right now. It's going to be a great night at Princess Auto Stadium, the season opener and the home opener for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Wednesday night, the Sea Bears are heading on the road for a 4-game road trip. They'll be back late into next week for their next home game, but they start on the road against the Brampton Honey Badgers, looking to make it 3 straight wins. And the Goldeyes, they're staying right here in Winnipeg. Monday night, they're taking on the Kane County Cougars. That's a 3-game home set before they head on the road yet again. And like I said last week, this isn't quite in Winnipeg, but we do live in Canada. The Stanley Cup Finals are on. The Edmonton Oilers against the Florida Panthers. I'm super excited for this series. Connor McDavid versus Matthew Tkachuk. Paul Maurice versus Evander Kane here in Winnipeg. But nonetheless, the Stanley Cup Finals, we live in Canada. We're all going to be watching it. That's on this week as well. But besides that, that's your summer sports update and the schedule going forward here in Winnipeg. And that's going to do it for the 2nd edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Weekly. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and the notification bell so you don't miss videos like this in the future. And hey, if you've got that one friend, they're a huge Goldeyes fan, a huge Sea Bears fan, Bombers fan or a Jets fan or just a Winnipeg sports fan in general, direct them to this show. I'm doing this every single Monday, updating you what happened in Winnipeg in the summer sports scene and previewing the upcoming week as I just did with the upcoming schedule. That's going to do it for episode 2. I'll see you all next Monday breaking down the Bombers home opener, the Sea Bears game, the Goldeyes playing a ton more games. I'm super pumped. See you guys next Monday. Enjoy the games this week.